The problem is there's trees blocking the whole thing, and we keep getting stuck in these trees and shoved underneath them. This is the rescue. There's the chopper.
I'm excited to get back in.
We bring Jack down here, try to get him over his fear. We had a rough kayaking incident down here to where we weren't told and we didn't really know that the water was real high, and we ended up out here and had to be rescued by county sheriff at about 1:30 in the morning. We were in contact with him about 4:30, and then we sat in the water from 4:30 till 1:30 in the morning. How you doing on the river? You still nervous?
Yeah, kind of.
He doesn't even like talking about it. You want to see something crazy? That's the helicopter looking for us because we're lost in the woods. Ain't that right, Jack?
Yeah, I'll break that.
Yeah. Yeah. Feeling? So, September 11th of last year, we had an incident on the Alafaya River. It had rained real bad a couple of nights before, and didn't really take that into account. Jess said that she wanted to, you guys are gonna have to bear with me because I'm a little bit emotional about this, and this wasn't the video I was gonna make. We were just gonna do a video on collecting and stuff in the wild, and we've been taking Jack is our son. We've been taking him back to the same spot over and over again, trying to get him to give up some of that fear. Way easier said than done. So we went down to the river today, and I did a kind of a monologue walking along the edge of the bank. We saw some alligators, and it got me thinking. It got me in our spot to where I started remembering that night and that day, and it was rough, man. It was rough. Not for me, because I've been in some pretty sticky situations before, but to have my wife and child in a vulnerable spot to where I was doing everything I could to keep them safe, and the water was rolling us. It kept rolling our kayak, went over. I had to jump out of the kayak once to push it over out of the way of a tree. A stick the shape of a Y came up and grabbed me right in the chest, and then as the water was pressing against it, it took me down underwater. Jack got scared, jumped out of the kayak trying to save me. The current instantly grabbed him. Jess grabbed him as he was going by, got him back in the boat. I had to break myself loose, swim back over there, get a hold of those guys, and then try to paddle us ashore. And that was right as night was breaking, and it was rough. The park rangers, they told us when we pulled in, it was 12 or 1 o'clock. I think it was right at 12. And he said something about us going down the river, and there's a guard shack that we have to pay to get in. And this man literally reached across my 4-year-old son to take my $4 so that we could go down this river, and handed us a thing, so make sure you fill that out in case you get stuck on the river. Ha, joke. No, it wasn't funny. It still isn't funny. So we get on the kayak and we're paddling down. The first hours, it's amazing. We're in nature, we're in tune, we're checking everything out, and then like heavy rapids started. Not that big of a deal. The rapids were not that big of a deal. It's Florida. It's not Colorado. It's not the mountains. It's Florida. We're flat. Everything's flat. The problem is there have been a bunch of storms a month before, and there were a lot of trees laying over the river completely. And we're not talking about little trees. We're talking about like big cypress trees, bigger around than I can touch. And these things are all the way over the river, and they were completely blocking the river with maybe, some of them had no space underneath them, so we had to go over them. Some of them were right along the water's surface, so they weren't that hard to go over. That's what we ran into the first couple times. There were 8 trees that were fully blocking the river. And it's hard, man. It's hard talking about it because it was rough. I just figured that if we were going to put out a video, the first video of you seeing us, why not get this kind of honesty? Why not get this kind of emotion and closeness and understand where we are and who we are is just with one incident in our life? I'm going to be a little scatterbrained all over this. I've never done one of these before. So we're charting new waters here, trying to make it work. So anyway, we're on the kayak. We cross a couple of trees. Then we get to a couple that are crossing the river, but they got like 14, 18, I don't know, maybe 2 foot underneath it. It had to be at least 2 foot because we were able to slide the kayak underneath it. And Jess panics a little bit and takes an oar and tries to stop us. And I tried to let her know that it wasn't going to happen and that she didn't. And it literally, as soon as she put the oar against a tree to try to push us off, it just snapped. So I convinced her to lay down and let it go under. And then we rolled up on a few other big trees. We got to this one area where we could stop. There was somebody on the side. We asked where. We got out. We called the park ranger. And he goes, we can't do anything there. You have to come another 5-6 miles. We'd already come like 6 miles. He said, you got to come another 5 miles before we can do anything. So that last 5 miles, we fought tooth and nail. The first mile of when we rolled over, something caught our plug and ripped the plug out. So we no longer had a plug. We also found out that maybe we were a little overweighted for the kayak. It said that we had, based on the kayak's ratings, we had plenty. And we were plenty within the time. But I'm telling you, that thing didn't float like we were okay. I'm going to put down some pictures and show you and let you see. Took some pictures, and so, oddly enough, I was able to, my phone going in the water and out of the water, oddly enough, it survived. I was able to get the video. Jess had some video. I don't think we recovered her video. We called the ranger station about 5 or 6 times. Now we started talking to them at about 4:30. They gave us an idea what time that we needed to start being concerned. Why do you do that? Why don't you just tell somebody to come back when it's a better time? So he told us there's nothing we can do. We're at this one point, we're going down, and our phones are working. We have service. We're pulling up where we are and everything, and we can see what's coming and what we've been through. And it was rough. It was tree after tree, just falling all the way across and trying to get over and under and manipulate these trees that are literally pushing thousands of pounds of water and trying to hold them back, and the trees are rolling and everything, just other trees are coming and hitting them and flipping up in the air, and I mean, it is scary. I have some video and you'll see it here in a minute of how rough it was. I'm also gonna include some of the video that we took today at the same spot in the Alafia River, where we take Jack to try to get him to get in the water so that he relinquishes a little bit of his fear and he gives it up and he realizes that was just a bad day. We're fragile. We're always just trying to dodge nature and then dodge mankind, but that's a whole another set of rules. I didn't think it was going to be this hard to talk about it. I knew that I should. I knew that I should talk about it. I knew that I should show some of the videos. We do the best we can. So Jessica was like, we need to get back into nature. We usually, because we did, and before COVID, even through COVID, we were out in it every day. We were outside, we were fishing, we were going to the beach, we were hiking, we have a place in the mountains, we were going to the mountains, we were hiking there, we were going down the river there. And then COVID and just nothing, man. Nothing. We just didn't go anywhere. We didn't do anything. We just self-preserved, just like everybody else. So let's get out. She'd been saying she wanted to go down the river. So I bought a kayak. Told her about it. Said, look, let's go pick up this kayak. Went to Dick's Sporting Goods, picked up the kayak. Bought the biggest kayak they had so that we could all three ride together. Because I'm the only one that has any experience on a kayak. Me and Jack used to go, but he was real small. We used to go down the river all the time. The same river. And literally it stayed on top of my truck till the next morning when we went to the river. Look, I didn't say I was a smart man. I said I was a Florida man. Nowhere does that entail smart. So we get there, we have the interaction with the park ranger about, oh yeah, you go ahead, you're fine. Yeah, the river's running a little bit fast, but you'll be fine. Okay, you know what? Fast to a fat guy means I don't have to paddle as much. That sounded great. Not how it worked out. So we're having the time of our life. Get everybody on the kayak. We got snacks. We got our bags. We got our dry bags. We had cameras, take pictures. We're going to look for some driftwood. We're going to stop along the way. We got our dip nets. We're going to do some collecting. And the first hour was awesome. And then it started going downhill. We'd given up hope. We'd called the guard shack and said, or the park ranger, that we didn't know if we were going to make it out. And we told him what we'd been through. He goes, yeah, there's a lot of trees down. Where were you when we asked you when we were coming in the gate? Why didn't you tell us that then? We can't get to you. I'm the only one at the gate. We don't have any resources. You got to get 5 more miles before we can help you. Just the takeout point is 6 more miles away. So there's a bridge that he's trying to get us to get to. Because they can't get up the river and anything they have. That includes speedboats. That includes pirogues, which is a short boat with a long prop on it. Nothing. They can't get up to anywhere except for that 1 mile from their boat ramp, from the takeout spot. That means they knew from the beginning that up until a mile from the takeout spot, it was all blocked up. How come he didn't tell us then? We paddled like hell and we tried to survive. We flipped the kayak about 5-6 more. That was when, in that time, was when the tree caught me in the chest and dumped our boat, and Jess had to grab Jack, and we had to try to get together and get over. And like I said, we lost our plug. So I had to take a Ziploc bag and twist it up with sand in it and stick it in our plug hole and try to keep the water out. We just got so many places that we couldn't do anything. I remember it like it was yesterday. And then the bank was 6 foot tall. And from where we were sitting, you couldn't climb up the bank because it's mud. It started raining while we were there, while we were stuck. We called and said, we can't move any further. We sent them our GPS coordinates. They said, that's not going to be good enough. They called the sheriff's department. The sheriff's department deployed one of their boats and their helicopter. The helicopter swarmed around us for about 6 hours.
You want to see something crazy? That's the helicopter looking for us because we're lost in the woods. Ain't that right, Jack?
Yeah, on the right side.
Yeah. Yeah. Feeling?
There was 3 of us. It was me and Jessica and Jack, who's 11 years old. And we sat in that thing. By the way, when we turned over on that last one, right before we got to where we couldn't do anything, we lost all of our cameras. We lost our dry bag. We lost all of our food, all of our water, everything. Except for what was in my dry cubby. The whole kayak was full of water. And I had 1 bottle of water that we were able to share between 3 of us from that time until 1:30. First, they had to go, we got a call that they got a boat, but it couldn't make it up. So they had to drive all the way back to Tampa, which is about 45 minutes away, all the way back to Tampa to get another boat. They went back and got that boat and came back. And that's what they came and got us with. There's light bars all over this thing. It's a really thin hull boat, and they got within about 200 yards of us. They had to moor the boat. They had to climb up with gear up onto the bank. They had to walk down 200 yards to us. They had to use gear to get us out of the kayak.
Jess over here, sitting there.
Then they lifted the kayak and put it on the edge.
Yep.
Jack lost his shoes. Jess gave Jack her shoes. I gave her my shoes. I'm walking barefoot through here, just making sure they're all right. Jack's eat up, has bug bites all over his face. Jess has bug bites all over her face. Just, you talk about a father's guilt looking and seeing them like this, and it's torture to recall. This is the first time I've ever sat down and really told the story. I've got family that wants to know the story. I've got friends that are. Now Jess might have told it. Jack won't talk about it. Jack cries every time we tell him we're going to the river. I got him to talk about it a little bit today, and then he cut off, which you'll see in the video. I got a little clip of it. Emotional, it was rough. We did get saved. Well, they showed up and they moored us out. We went down the river, and they couldn't even make it back to their own dock. They had to take us to a civilian's dock, where they let us out there, and they had a police car meet us there at that dock at somebody's house. Her brother and his friend went and got our kayak a month later. We're still there. They were wondering why we're not all dead. When we got on the boat, where the sheriff's office was amazing, the same park ranger said, you know, if it was 1.5 to 3 inches higher, I would have had to close the river. And I was pretty upset, and I'm trying to keep control of myself. Jess is holding onto my knee and squeezing so that I don't lose it on this guy. And she says, calm down. And I did not want to. So I jumped up and I asked him, I said, why did you allow us to go down that when you reached over the 11-year-old child? And he was 10 then. Why did you reach over the 10-year-old child to take $4 and put all of our lives at risk when you were going to close it if it got 1.5 inches higher? He goes, we take care of that river as a courtesy. We have no obligation to do anything. And at that point, the sheriff's officer grabbed me, walked me towards the front of the boat. He said, I grabbed you because if it was me, I would have knocked him out. I didn't knock him out. I appreciate that officer. And I appreciate everybody that came and saved my family because I couldn't. So, the next video, I promise it'll be a lot more upbeat. We didn't intend on making this one. Actually, today was supposed to be a collecting video. We went to 3 different locations, which we're going to let everybody know what they are. We're going to let everybody know the 3 locations that we frequent a lot and we do a lot of collecting at. And we're collecting, it's not just our Florida, it's all of our Florida. And we're going to do it together. We're going to enjoy our Florida together. And we're going to tell you where to go, where we've been, so that you know that you can go there. They're all public places. There are no secrets. And just hope you get your family out and get them into nature and do something with them and cherish them. Because I thought I was going to lose mine. It's enough.
I feel like E.T. right now. I want to phone home. There's the boats are over there. That's what he's lighting up. And Jess is over here, sitting there, and Jack's here. Yep. It's 11 o'clock at night in the swamp.
You still nervous?
Yeah, kind of.
He doesn't even like talking about it.